How you doing?
Good, good. Yeah. The video and audio coming through okay? Sound all right?
Yeah, and I'll just say in advance, I haven't done a video pod, so this is going to be a first for me. So if I do something
Cool.
stupid,
Okay.
bear with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But we got a lot of questions, a lot of ground to cover. So
Okay.
let me make sure
Sweet, man.
first I don't do something stupid here and miss hitting record. I think
Yeah.
we got it going. Do you prefer Nick
Cool.
or Nicodemus?
You pronounce Nickademus just fine, so we can go with that. Or
Okay, cool.
either one.
Um, Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me. We've been going back and forth a little bit. So
Absolutely.
we're going to get into all of these things, your background, some of these things that you've done, but we've been connected on Facebook, even back in 2013, which, some of these things that you've done, Barclays and all that stuff. I was very aware of you for a number of years. So this is really cool that we're kind of coming full circle to have this chat. But
Yeah, yeah.
so let's start with, how was your day? What did you do today?
Oh man, my wife and I we went to Europe like 2 3 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago now, for the World Mountain Trail Running Championships. She
Mm-hmm.
represented Canada out there, and when we flew back, the usual jet lag where you're waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning or something like that on the West Coast, and we liked that schedule, and so we've
Oh,
just worked really hard to maintain going to bed at like 7 to 7:30 p.m. and waking up at 4.
oh,
So I woke
really?
up. So I woke up at 4, and it's not like a bragging, oh, I work as a tech guy and get up at 4. But that's just when we've been getting up, and so did that. I still maintain a fair bit of coaching clients, so checked in on everybody, and then so I'm giving you kind of granular. How was the day?
No, that's
And
cool.
then,
No, that's totally cool.
doing a local marathon this weekend, and so I had kind of a shorter run than normal, with some strides and stuff in there. And then what
What
did I
marathon
do?
are you running? Where are you at?
I live just outside of Vancouver, Canada.
Okay.
So about 45 minutes east in what's called the Fraser Valley, out in a little town called Fort Langley.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a real
Beautiful
nice.
area.
Yeah, yeah. If you've seen like any Hallmark movies in the last 10 years, it's probably been filmed
Yeah.
like 5 minutes from where I live. So
Nice. Yeah. My
it's a
wife
cool
and I, we
spot.
spent some time up around Vancouver. And then, like I told you, we're up in Bellingham. We've got one of our kids up there. So, yeah, familiar with the area. It's gorgeous up
Nice,
there.
man. Yeah, yeah.
So, again, a lot of ground to cover, but I want to start kind of, from the beginning of things, for me, because I don't know a ton about you other than, like I said, this, connection that we have on social media and stuff. But where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid?
Yeah.
Did you have siblings or, only child?
Yeah, so I was born in Bremerton, Washington. My dad was in the military, he was in the Navy. And my mom, they got married like, 18 and 20, down in San Diego. And then kind of growing up, we bounced around with my dad's job in the military and stuff. So we lived in kind of a couple different spots. My sister was born 5 years after me.
Okay.
We lived for a while over just outside of London, England, so sort of a
Oh,
little
wow.
town called West Ruislip over there.
Okay.
And then we lived for a while in Naples, Italy. And around then, my parents got divorced, and then we moved with my mom back to San Diego, California. Which, if I was to say like my hometown, I'd probably call it San Diego. I still, when speaking of San Diego, I use like
That's home.
we or oh yeah, and my place or whatever. Oh, those
Sure.
those are my mountains, kind of thing. So yeah, San Diego is probably like my hometown per se.
Nice. How'd you
Um,
land in Vancouver or, well, outside of Vancouver?
yeah, my wife, who I eventually met in San Diego, is from White Rock, Canada originally. So
Okay.
yeah, and White Rock's just kind of right on the border with Bellingham.
Nice. Nice. What kind of kid were you? Were you active, energetic?
Yeah, sort of before my parents' divorce, kind of typical. Like I was into football, baseball. Yeah, I just just standard
Did
team
everything?
sports, that kind of stuff. I liked camping and stuff. Wasn't super pushed towards like a specific sport. I started to trend more towards like skateboarding and the extreme sports and stuff. All throughout
Sure.
my teen years, I liked what's it called? I liked running and stuff. I did cross country in high school, which was the first time I got into it. But then I was simultaneously like, jumping my bike off of like 15, 20-foot jumps and stuff like that, and
Totally.
scraping
Daredevil.
myself up. Yeah, just scraping myself up on a skateboard or bike or something. So
No,
yeah.
I hear you. So if you were a skateboarder in Bremerton, I always think of MXPX. I'm a punk fan. I
Okay,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Grow up listening to punk. If you're skating, what are you listening to when you're out on your board and
Oh
riding your bike?
man, I'm in like the Tony Hawk soundtrack or something like that.
Nice, nice, nice.
I don't know, like
So you said running came into the picture in high school, cross country. How did that
yeah.
start? Where were you drawn to it? Why did you
Oh
join?
man, it was probably, again, I keep kind of referencing my parents' divorce as a kind of pivotal time.
Sure.
I was like a angry young kid trying to figure things out, and so I had at that time all my like heavy metal blasting in my ears and stuff, and
Sure.
was running around it was just like the middle school track just recently when they'd been divorced, and I had a lot of anger in me and stuff, and just used the coach was like, "Hey, we're making you kids run the mile or whatever," and I ran it and I beat all the other kids and was like, "Oh, I feel like
Hey, you're pretty good at this.
I might be okay at this." Not thinking, it's just that like, oh, the fast kids aren't really motivated to move. But
Right.
okay, well, I'm winning. Cool.
Yeah.
And so I took that little sliver of like validation and recognition and quite literally ran with it. And yeah, that was maybe sixth grade. And then seventh grade, we moved finally to San Diego, played around with that a little bit more, won the little, they weren't really official races, but whatever, like the
Want
PE
some local
time.
stuff.
Yeah, the little PE timed races and stuff like that you do in middle school. I came out on top on those, and then was like, oh, I'll try cross country. And then all of a sudden, those kids that in middle school weren't trying were now actually trying and
Sure.
coming over from other sports that I hadn't seen. And now, as a high school freshman, I'm like 10th and something. I'm like, whoa, there's actual competition
Changes
here.
the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, that's an intro of that. There's a different side to that I see nowadays as well. Of course, with like I got into
Maturity and hindsight.
yeah. So I well, what I would say, like looking back as a 35-year-old on let's say 14-year-old Nick or something like that as a freshman in high school. I didn't have the resilience. I didn't have a whole lot of validation or recognition back at home or anything.
Sure.
And so if I wasn't winning something or getting recognized, I wasn't going to stick in it. And so
Sure.
that was the case with cross country. So then it was like a question of, oh, how do I get recognized? How do I get attention if I'm not going to win this?
You went from winning to now you're kind of like dropping back a little
yeah,
bit. And not
yeah,
get the same validation.
yeah. And so I pretty quickly switched to like, oh, I'm going to be the youngest kid to do a marathon. And got obsessed with that idea. And my mom had done it the previous year and wrote a letter to like San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon saying it had been my life dream of like, maybe it had for a year or something. And they let me in and I did it at age 15. So yeah.
Oh, wow. How'd you do?
Yeah. It was like 3 hours and 29 minutes, which for me was great,
Decent for a 15-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So are you still riding bikes and doing other things, or is
oh
it
yeah, no, I
focus?
missed most of my junior year of cross country. I would have been such a pain in the ass to coach as a kid. I was always jumping off of things, and as I said, I missed most of my junior year of cross country high school because of a bad downhill mountain biking injury. So
what'd you do?
It was like a 30-foot jump that I'd done before. It was like a pond, like a road gap essentially. So a big step down where you're going from somewhere high to somewhere low.
Uh-huh.
And I had, decent bike. I'd done it several times before. I wanted to show off to my friend. I was way too overconfident in it. And you always want to look at the jump, even if you've done the jump like 1,000 times. Look at the jump, make sure no one's modified it, make sure no one's changed the lip, which is the angle of the launch, and someone had modified it. Someone had made it steeper, so it kicked you up higher than I was anticipating. And I approached it with the usual speed. Didn't see that until like it was too late, and then took off, got launched higher, and then came down essentially. Yeah. I went higher and landed shorter. So
sounds like there's actually a lot of alignments with us. I had a similar journey where my parents divorced when I was young, and it kind of sent me down a similar path where, and running was kind of, sounds like for you the same thing, where it was an outlet. It was kind of like almost out of anger, like running out of anger. And then, it seems like you started doing well with it. And I did the same, riding bikes, jumping everything I could and busting myself up. But, so at what point does it start to shift from something that you're kind of beating yourself up doing, but now, now you're starting to get some validation and recognition? You do this marathon. Where does it go from there?
Yeah. So that was junior year. Sorry, that was a freshman year of high school. And then it's this like difficult thing to separate now in my mind. I've looked at it critically and I've looked at it compassionately. And so it's this weird blend of the two where a friend of mine, very unfortunately, who I did improv with and acting with in high school gets cancer my junior year, his senior year. And then at the high school that I graduated, you had to have a senior project to do in order to graduate, some sort of community service type thing. And I decided, I'm going to run 3,000 miles because it sounds cool across the school year and culminate with this big 100-mile run. I read Dean Karnassus's book.
Yes, I say, where'd you get the idea?
I'd recently learned people can go further than a marathon.
Marathon Man?
Yeah, exactly. Ultra Marathon Man, the classic one. I was like, pizza at 2 a.m. Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, who is
what
this
are people
guy?
doing? This is crazy.
Yeah,
and I really want to do it.
Like, whoa, you can go further than 26 miles? Who knew?
Yeah, right.
And like the idea of like falling asleep while running. I was like, man, this is neat. And I was totally fascinated by that. And and so like part like genuine compassion and care for my friend, and definitely part like the more critical parts, like I wanted validation, man. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be cooler than all the other seniors and have a cool project.
Not getting the attention you want at home.
This is the way
to get it. No,
be,
I totally
be the
get that.
kid who did that, and then during that project, my mom starts paying a ton of attention to me, and so it's like, oh shoot, this is subconsciously subconsciously I'm latching on to like, okay, the straight A's didn't do it, the being 10th in cross country didn't do it, being first at being good at a play didn't do it, but winning these ultra marathons and doing these, this seems to get the attention I wanted. And
why do you think that is? What do you think was different about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. My first response is that, it had been athletically maybe something that my mom had wanted to achieve herself when she was younger. She'd gone after the marathon, and this was something that we kind of shared. She definitely, helped me in many ways when I was super young, getting into running, or encouraged me to. And so it could be that what I was doing was maybe something she could easily recognize or easily have seen herself doing.
Did she encourage it? Did she encourage it for, finishing, trying to win, or was she encouraging it as an outlet for this young, energetic kid who just needed to burn off energy? Was it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not consciously or explicitly was it ever like to win. I never got that message of like, you got to go out there and win. It matters,
But once you start getting this success.
I'll give an example, and I'll give a disclaimer or trigger warning for those listening. So this was like, sophomore in high school, doing cross country. The flavor of this, again, that it played out in my childhood was mostly neglect. So mostly just not being there. Sure. What that resulted in was like me kind of trying to go to the extremes of like, pushing myself to be noticed. Yeah. Oh man, do I need the A's? Do I need to be, the lead actor? And so like this culminating behavior kind of like this that I didn't know was self-harm at the time. But like, minutes before a cross country race goes off, I'm listening to my Slipknot, my Korn, my heavy metal, whatever it is. And then I'm going off and saying just horrible things to myself and hitting myself in the head a few times, really? Like right before the start of the
Are you doing
the
that
race
to
or whatever.
psych yourself up, or you think you're
It,
psyching
it was
yourself up?
it was under that premise. It's definitely I would as the therapist
Reflecting back now, it's
reflecting back kind of counsel or categorize that more self harm. But yeah, back then it was kind of like, come on, you piece of crap, let's go.
right. This is
And
what I'm
then
doing.
under the guise that like that's what I needed to do. I needed to win that race to earn my mother's attention and love. Like if I didn't win this race, that was what was on the line. Or being lovable, maybe not even my mother's love, deeper than that, just being lovable and being worthy, and that was on the line if I didn't win or do well.
And this isn't because of her giving you, like markers or anything. This is in your own head.
Yeah. So neglect grows in places. That type of desperation, I would say, grows out of. Neglect's a funny one.
It is. I'm actually going through my own therapy now too, which we're going to dive into with your background and stuff. But like absolutely. I said, we've got a very. I'm kind of tripping out here because we're such a similar, story and path of the divorce and the neglect and like all these things that you're doing. Yeah. It's kind of making me relive my own youth here. It's crazy.
Hopefully it's okay.
No, I think it's going to be awesome for the latter part of our conversation as we get into the work that you've done now as an adult. Because I'm in the same place after years of basically just beating the shit out of myself. I don't know, maybe it's getting older. I'm 48 now, and you start maybe it's just you get tired of kicking your own ass. I don't know. We'll get there.
Yeah.
So anyway, man. you're doing these runs. You set this goal. You're going to run 3,000 miles, and it's going to culminate in a 100-miler thing.
In 100 miles, yeah, exactly. And I do it around a high school track, and
nobody in high school is running 100 miles.
No. So I stick out like a sore thumb in the running world ish. We're talking 2008. At the time, I've done a 50K now, and I did a 50-miler leading up to that 100-mile attempt. Or no, it wasn't an attempt. I did it. It was.
What are you doing for nutrition and hydration? And obviously we get into the sport. And
at that time, man, no, it was like 2008. I'm drinking like Kool-Aid, gummy bears, like bits of like turkey meat from like the deli at Vaughn's or something. I've got some Pat and Oscar's breadsticks, which I don't know, some random stuff. So just full proteins, full carbs. No goos, no 90 grams of carbs now. Or
just whatever you can stick in your face, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So you succeeded on this goal?
Yeah. Finished that. Ended up surpassing my fundraising goal at the time for my friend who went into remission. He's doing well these days and everything like that.
Awesome.
We still keep contact here and there. And then that was kind of the senior project. I graduate and stuff, and then I go to I start going to college over at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff. And I'm like, Flagstaff for a long time been a bastion of good runners and stuff.
Anybody that knows running knows Flagstaff.
Yeah, so NAU's been a top school for a long time. I like to say I was kind of there a little bit before like the wave crested there. So before like Jim Walmsley and Jared Hazen, any of the Coconino Cowboy guys or anything were there or were ultra running or anything. 2008 to 2012 was Rob Carr wasn't even doing anything. He was on the track team that I trained with once in a while, and I remember getting like lapped by him when we did like a mile test, and I was like, who the heck was that?
And you went by yourself? You just picked NAU and
I went to study geology originally, and I thought, I don't know, it'd be cool. It's got proximity to the Grand Canyon. Sounds like a fun area. And in college was cool. It was again, like kind of for me, again, psychologically, a slip back into anonymity in the regard of like, whoa, this is a big thing. You'll notice that's kind of a recurrent pattern of like, oh man, I got validated. Oh, slipping back into anonymity. Oh, how do I get noticed again? And that happened in college. And then kind of the urge simultaneously grew to like, oh man, I got to do the next hardest thing. I got to do Badwater. And so, I found out and barely.
And how did you find out about Badwater?
I had a friend in San Diego, Joe Decker, who ran Gut Check Fitness. That was like an outdoor boot camp, and he'd been around the globe and nation and stuff like that, doing sort of the chase like the world's toughest events. And
Hmm.
I looked up to him, and I looked up to David Goggins, Akos Konya, and Charlie Angle, like back in 2008, 2009. Again, before these
Yeah.
guys were cool, kind of. No, nobody really knew who
Yeah.
like Goggins
It's
was much at the time.
early days.
Yeah, yeah, and so,
Well, I say early days. I mean, early days being relative before kind of like the big boom of where it's at now. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah, there
probably
wasn't
like
any
10
social
years
media
where it's just
to,
right.
yeah, yeah, and so I looked up those guys a lot, and they had all done Badwater, and so it was like, whoa, that seems like it was this
Death
weird,
Valley.
like, yeah, it was this weird, again, kind of like with being like a 15-year-old doing a marathon. It was simultaneously like I got offended by this comment in Dean Karnassis's like career forever ago, but it was kind of like this comment suggested, and the comment was basically, Dean's not that good. He just makes up his own categories or whatever, so he can be king of weird category.
Whatever.
And I was kind of doing the same thing. I was a 15-year-old who did a marathon. I was the 18-year-old who, did 100-mile around a track. Was I, like other 15-year-olds doing cross-country nationals for high school? No, I would have been like 150th among them.
Hmm.
I was doing things that made me stand out. So 19-year-old,
So are you?
young. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say, are you doing these things and kind of waving the flag, saying, "Hey, check it out! I've done this. I'm awesome. Whatever." Or is it just kind of like do one thing and then it fades quickly and it's like, well, damn, what's the next thing to fill that need?
More of that. There's still like a part of me that's like,
Unfulfilled.
what you, yeah, unfulfilled, or like too humble or too shy or something to like explicitly brag about it.
Or
Yeah.
was, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, or
Yeah,
was
no,
it,
go for
is
it.
there the part of kind of, I did this thing and now I want the next, or is it, does it start to shift? As we're going to get into some of these accomplishments that you've
Sure,
done, it's
sure.
absolutely
Yeah.
crazy, but
Yeah.
does it start to shift to what am I capable of?
There's a weird blend of that all in there. Yeah, it's all of those, and I couldn't pick apart one and say like which was more of the driver than the other.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would, my critical lens wants to look back at all those years and be like, no, that was validation, attention driven. But no, it definitely, had you asked me in that moment, in that time period, it would have been like, I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see what I can do.
Yeah.
And this is a great arena to see what I'm capable of. And that's why I'm seeking the world's hardest races. So it was, probably a blend of the two, subconsciously being driven by that attention kind of thing. Because I did do Western States when I was 20 years old, and then I did Badwater 2 weeks later, and
Because why not?
yeah, because why not? Because I was 20,
And you finished
and
Badwater at 19, right?
yeah. So this is my second time doing Badwater
Okay.
at 20, and uh, doing Western States. I placed like 50th or something like that. That was the year that Unbreakable,
Yeah,
the first one was filmed. Yeah,
2010. Hmm.
and yeah. I don't know what I
Where,
was going to say there. Yeah,
no, where,
placed further back,
where
but
does it go from there? So you do Badwater, you finish youngest finisher at that time at 19. Is the next race from there Western States and then Badwater again? Is there anything
what
in
was it?
between there?
19, so 2009. I would have entered the Furnace Creek 508, and I did that because David Goggins and Charlie Angle, who I looked up to a bunch, were doing
Okay.
it, and I was like, oh, 508-mile bike race doesn't sound that bad. I've never biked much at all before, and but whatever, I'll try it. It's an endurance race, same thing. And I got my butt kicked there. That was tough. That was like giant
Saddle
headwinds, super
sores.
slow, super saddle sore,
Oh man.
just gnarly. Yeah, that
I'm getting
was
back into biking a little bit now.
okay.
And it's, yeah, you forget forget about
Yeah,
some of those things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. And it was yeah, that was rough. I was real close to the cutoff time, and that was gnarly. And
So let me
yeah,
ask a question. I mean, everybody, well, most people know Goggins' story. Guy's just a badass all the way around. And Charlie Angle, I've read his story as well. And his was a substance abuse issue. Was there anything like that that you were dealing with? Were you, was there alcohol or drugs or anything that are fueling
Yeah.
all these things? Are you keeping a clear head, relatively speaking?
Yeah. Again, like I look back on it, and I look back on it with like a fairly critical eye. Again, like it's not like I've been to inpatient therapy for a month in 2020, and I remember chatting with my roommates who were there. Some for alcoholism, some for domestic abuse, some for
Mm,
drug abuse. And we were chatting kind of about our childhood and our parents and stuff. And we're like, oh man, we could. It's a common thing sometimes in inpatient therapies
sure.
where it's like, oh, we could swap parents. You just ended up in the alcoholism funnel.
Yeah.
You ended up in the running funnel. And so, was I that different from Goggins or Charlie? Yes. Further, I kind of like the metaphor I'd almost give in some ways is that like if you've ran down a mountain or you look at the topography of a mountain, you all start from the same peak or summit, and then as you go down, the ridges diverge and the ridges
Mm-hmm.
go off radically different directions. And so that's kind of maybe it's in some ways a similar origin, but the specificity of where Charlie versus David versus someone like myself or whatever maybe ended up is totally different.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Badwater, Western states. Where does it go from there? I mean, you ended up sponsored, so how
Yeah,
does it?
yeah.
How do things continue from there to where you've done some of these other amazing things? I got some things you told me, and I've got pulled up on the screen here too. That we'll get into Barkley's, and I'm
Yeah.
going to mispronounce this like everybody
Oh, it's
does.
all good.
Tortigant.
Tour de Giants.
Dijon's,
Like
okay.
Giants, but yeah.
Jones, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Tahoe Rim Trail, Kodiak,
Yeah.
Cruel Jewel, Fat Dog, the
Yeah.
Hurt. Yeah, and these are all, you're placing top, podium or winning
Yeah.
a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So obviously things take it levels up. So where does that
Yeah.
shift to where you're just this kind of guy going out and doing it to where now you're winning? And
Yeah.
I assume you're getting, the attention.
Yeah, so that was got out of college in 2012 and pretty much had a job. I had like 3 or 4 different jobs right out of college or whatever. It was just kind of working wherever. And I had tried Barkley in 2011, made it 3 loops. Tried Barkley in 2012 and made it like 4 loops minus 1 book. So 3 loops officially. And then went back in 2013. I'd graduated from college, was working a job at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which was the same organization I'd fundraised money for back to my friend in high school. And there was like this like little break where like my identity was stable. I'd say I had a new girlfriend who eventually became my wife, and I was kind of enjoying my job at LLS and I was still, fully doing this running thing, but like, I wasn't like direly needing to, I don't know how to say that exactly. Like I wanted to finish Barkley, but I didn't like need to finish Barkley quite like I did in 2012. 2012, I was desperate to finish it. And that also was my downfall.
And why do you say that? Why do you say you were desperate to finish it?
Because it had been like an embarrassing, like I'd again, if you understand like we go back to like the childhood neglect kind of concept, and this is all the story of how I conceptualize and understand it. We go back to like a neglected kid who's like, worth and lovability depends on finishing things and winning things. And then so Barkley happens in 2011. That's my first ever scar on my permanent record of, oh my God, a DNF. It was like, prior to that, my motto would have been along with the people who say like, oh, death before DNF kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so 2011, I do get a DNF at Barkley. It doesn't quite feel like that, but at the same time, I come back to it with just this tenacity of, all right, I'm going to screw this race up. I'm going to show this race what's up. And if you watch the Barkley documentary that came out in 2014, you'll see a long-haired version of me. Just sprint out the gate, and I'm way ahead of Jared Campbell and Brett Mound, who go on to Brett sets the record that year, and I'm just sprinting up the first mountain. I get lost going to the first book. I'm so full of piss and vinegar. I just really screw up that first loop, waste a lot of energy. I've got
Were you into mountaineering at that point?
No, man. I was just
just go and do it.
Just go and do it. I pride myself on what am I really good at? If you and I are on a run and we have a conversation, and I don't know, you say something about like I don't know, birds or finches or something like that. I can later recall like weeks or a month from there. I can, oh, we were running by the tree, which was by the river, which was by the this, and this was going on when you said the word purple finch. Some weird audio visual memorization ability. And so like with the Barkley course, I did well with it because I'd seen it now in 2011. I'd seen it now in 2012. And then when I went to see it again in 2013, you know, I had a lot of the course memorized by that point, visually at least. And so that helped a ton. And,
what do you think the hardest part of that course is? Why is it so hard for people to finish? Obviously, I've never done it, but
yeah,
a lot of runners, I follow it.
Yeah, the physical element. There's a lot of, you know, take anybody who's top 100 at UTMB and they demolish it. Take anybody who's top 10 at UTMB and they do the physical part of that in like 40 hours or something stupid. And that's no disrespect to like anyone who's finished it or anything like that. That's just, I think at least that element of it. So the physical element is tough. The part to me, it's like part resilience, part navigation. So like you're going to make mistakes. You're going to screw up. You're not going to navigate something correctly. You're not going to get it correctly. You're going to miss a book. You're going to screw up this direction. And your ability to kind of bounce back from that, to make an error and bounce back from it. I'm thinking of mistakes that I've made that have taken me out in 2012 and 2023 when I went back. And one big hard part, the hardest part for me, if I'm not careful with that race, is admitting when I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I don't know if it's shame for me that comes up. I don't know if it's embarrassment, probably both if they're not the same. But it's like, you know,
how do you respond to that?
Yeah.
Pissed off and, you know, and now it's like, fuck it, I'm going to get out there and really kick its ass. Or is it like, you know, God,
I'll give the example at Barkley. I'm navigating with another guy. I've slightly presented myself as if I know what I'm doing, more than this guy. And he's, you know, recently won Barkley Fall Classic, lives in the area, had done the course way more recently than me, but I can cockily present a little bit as a know-it-all if I'm not careful. And we're out there and I am like, no, yeah, this is the right ravine. This is the correct ravine. Nick, I don't know if this is the right way. And I'm starting to get the sense that it's yeah, he's probably right. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll just, you know, if we just keep going this way, we can cut it over here and then we'll be back to where we wanted to anyways. So we'll just cut through the bushes over here at this part. And we start doubling down, you know, in the wrong direction, and leading this poor guy that way. And and Alan Abs and I did that as well back in 2012 together, where we had gotten caught in something on the part of the course called zip line, and I again like just doubled us down. I was like, oh, if we go twice as fast in the wrong direction, we'll correct it. And it's like, no, you get lost just twice as fast. So,
right. But the rationale makes sense at the time.
I've made that mistake a few times, and yeah, outside of Barkley, my wife would just laugh at how many times I've made that mistake. But yeah, still learning from that one.
Yeah. So you get, you know, you get through Barkley, you finally, you know, get to the end and you have a Barkley finish. Do you still have the fire burning for Barkley, or is it, you know, check that box, on to the next, you know, big thing? Are you sponsored at this point, and who's sponsoring you?
Yeah, so 2013 it kind of took off after that. I had like Carbo Pro, which was a nutrition sponsor at the time, around the time of Barkley, but then after Barkley, I get on with Innovate because I go to Jordi Gions.
I love it.
Yeah. They were great with me from 2013 to 2018 essentially. And
Nice.
yeah, they did a great job taking care of me. I met the crew and stuff like that when I was out in Italy. I met them like before UTMB, then did Tour de Giants, of course, my first time in 2013. And yeah,
That's super rad. I ran for Pearl Izumi for a little while, but
oh
we
yeah, okay,
folded their running side and kind of played around with some different stuff. And then I went full
yeah,
on Innovate for years. Absolutely love Innovate shoes.
nice man.
But
Yeah, yeah,
anyway, so you're running for Innovate, then Carbo Pro. Where do you go
yeah.
from there? You finish Barkley. What's next?
Finished Barkley that year. Like 2 days later, I did a local trail marathon in San Diego that went up 6,000 feet and went down 6,000 feet. So I trashed myself doing that. And then was like upset for myself at being like third there, like 3 days after Barkley, and it was so stupid. And then a month later, I did a 50 miler, again, really stupid / like just burning my matches as a young, like 22, 23-year-old.
Why?
And
What's
why?
making you jump into 2 weeks later and then a month later? Is it, mentally, I think I can push myself through this, regardless of what my body feels like?
Yeah, just this real disconnection between
What's your
like
training look
self, real haphazard.
Yeah.
When I'm in my 20s, again, how do I say like exactly? So I've changed as a runner is pretty big, I guess, to me. But when I was younger in my 20s, it was very much like, I don't know, am I going to get I'd have to be getting something out of the run.
Sure.
I'd have to be like going to the top of a mountain that I can then, say to my friends or say to myself or something like that. Like, oh yeah, I went up that mountain 3 times or whatever.
Yeah.
It'd have to have some adventure, some novelty. I'm soothing or medicating myself or treating myself with one of those things. This is not like I'm going to DNF a training run that's like a 20-mile training run around the block. I'm not doing that.
That resonates so much. I'm totally aligned with this.
Yeah,
you go out and you're doing the thing, but it's not necessarily following any kind of
it's
training
not.
plan.
It's
You're
not
just going out, and it's like you say, there has to be a purpose to it, and then you're having this success on the back end of these races. So it's almost encouraging. Okay.
Totally. So the success at the races validates at the time, and we're talking like 2013, 2014. So yes, there's competition at some of these, not all of these. This is, I guess, now Krar and Tollefson and stuff, and Timothy Olsen are starting to come onto the scene in terms of some of the males. Ruth Croft is, winning UTMB on the female side, I'm not watching. I'm doing my like obscure races that nobody's ever heard of, but winning those in conjunction with like, oh, these adventure runs, oh, these crazy weird runs and stuff are kind of validating each other. But I'm DNFing on a like, okay, I'm going to do a 20-mile flat run. Oh, 12 miles in. Screw this. It's nothing I can brag about or show,
It just stops. It just stops feeding what you want out of it when you hit that point, and it's
there was no
no top of the mountain.
No top of the mountain, no patience to really, see the long term of what that could have built.
Sure.
Had I done more of that, it was just, well, that's not instantaneously validating. Nope.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So where's it go from there?
So then 2014, I go back to Tour de Giants, and that's my second time there, and trained my butt off for that one. I have a local running coach in San Diego, and I do a race called Ronda del Sims that year. There's like an Innovate retreat that year.
So your coach is giving you some structure now. Are you seeing?
Yeah. I immediately almost. The guy has me do basically like just aerobic runs. So just a lot of easy runs and then fartleks.
LSDs.
And then LSDs and just fartleks was the main thing in that program. And
was that hard? Was it hard to hold yourself back?
It was kind of relieving at the time. I remember it. It was nice to just sort of, in some ways, hand off that control. I think I was pushing. I think back to it. I was definitely pushing the limits with some of those things, like moderate run or something like. And I still find myself doing that today under a coach. And I think there's that part that I was speaking to earlier of like, oh, I need to go up a mountain. That part that's like, an easy run isn't something to validate, isn't something to be validated
Right.
for, isn't something I'm going to.
You can't tell you don't get excited about telling everybody about your,
Nobody
I went
cares
this
that you
distance,
did.
but I did it
Yeah,
at, 10,
yeah,
12, whatever the pace
and
is. I got to get out there and do
and
6-7 minute miles, or I got to
yeah,
hammer the
yeah,
downhills. Okay.
yeah. And here's a leaf that I saw because I'm just running around my block or something.
Right.
It's like others are posting. Oh, I climbed this mountain and linked up these 5, and
Right.
yeah,
And you're a sponsored athlete. You got to show that
yeah,
you're doing the big things.
yeah. So that's kind of going on. I'm
So
dabbling around in that time as well, and a little bit of like OCR stuff, and so playing around with this race called Survival Run down in Nicaragua, and I have a lot of fun with that, and I'm pretty good at that stuff too, and yeah, I tried my hand at World's Toughest Mudder in 2014 after placing second at at Tour de Géants, and
what did you think about that?
Tour or the Mudders. I went in there again with a lot of a lot of entitlement is what I approached it with. A big ego and a lot of entitlement, which was a mistake, and I went into that kind of like, who do these people think they are? I'm gonna swoop in there and win their $10,000, and yeah, I just been second at Tour, and I was like, dude, I can come destroy your World's Toughest Mudder thing. I'm gonna come clean this place up. And for the first like 10, 12 hours of the race, I kind of keep near the leaders, but every time I've had a good performance, I've ran from a much more like apathetic, I don't really care if like it goes well, it goes bad, I'm just chill. And I kind of get more in the mood and a little bit more and more competitive, but like not until 3/4 into the race.
Mm-hmm.
WTM, I'm like gripping from the get go, just like, I got to prove my worth. I got to show these people who they are.
Go out too fast.
I get my butt kicked and I drop out 12 hours in. So yeah.
Did you do another one of those? I've never done one. It hasn't really attracted me. But
yeah. No, I go back in 2015. I still have ego and entitlement issues. I go back with a team. I abandon them, or we disband. I abandon them. I don't know. Around like 12 hours into the race, I'm a crappy teammate at the time, and I go back in 2016. Ken still full of entitlement and ego with that race. I get my butt kicked again. And then I finally went back again in 2022 with zero expectation. No one knew who I was anymore. And I hit my like super PR by like several miles in that at that event. So
isn't it interesting how that happens when you start giving up on?
You gotta let go.
When I got away from all the focus of placing and podiums and winning races, and I kind of got to that point. I actually got out of the sport for a few years because I got so burnt out. And when I went back in to run races, kind of like you're saying, it was kind of just at that point where I'm just going to go and have fun, and suddenly, winning and PRing and with that low expectation and not going out at 6-minute miles of a 100-mile race.
Yeah.
So are you feeling anything weird with your body? Because that's kind of a little foreshadowing of where we're going.
Yeah.
But, how's your body feeling other than you're kicking your own ass?
2013, I'm screwed up, man. After Barkley and this particularly that marathon, I'm kind of like seizing around in bed. I'm walking upstairs and having trouble breathing, which my girlfriend at the time is then like, oh, you should probably go get that checked out. And I do. And then they see that I have a bicuspid aortic valve. And
what is that? Can you explain that?
So bicuspid aortic valve is a normal person in their heart has what's called a tricuspid, and so it opens and closes, kind of fully. Bicuspid just I don't know. It doesn't open as wide as a tricuspid valve, and so it like as a result of that, if you can kind of imagine a little leaflet opening with 3 leaflets and it fully opening so blood can pass through. If it just has 2 leaflets, it opens like 80 to 90%. If it's a decent performing bicuspid, you have ones that over time will deteriorate and only open like 10%. That blood or those valves need to open fully so blood flows through your heart per heartbeat. And the physics of it that I vaguely understand are just basically you have a smaller hole with the same blood pressure going through it, and then hitting the ascending aorta, which is sort of a curve in your upper chamber of your heart. And when blood flows through to that higher velocity because of the little bicuspid versus the bigger flow valve essentially. It hits the ascending aorta at a higher velocity, and over time, what that was doing unknowingly between 2013 and 2018 is I'm doing all these big races and stuff, is that slowly causing what's called an aneurysm, or just a bubble, just a bump basically where your aorta is. And if those pop, basically it's a pretty bad time.
Real bad.
Yeah.
So does that raise your blood pressure? I mean, when you're doing these races, or I don't know if you do heart rate training, or are you seeing a spike in blood pressure, and is that?
I got the bicuspid diagnosis in 2013. Then I was 23 years old and was like, all right, well, that's the thing. Okay, I'll deal with that when I'm 40.
I read something about a week after you got diagnosed, you did a 40+ mile run.
Yeah, that was typical of like 22, 23-year-old me, of just like, okay, well, that's a thing. Yeah, I'll deal with that when I'm 40. And then I wasn't 40 when I had to deal with it. And so yeah,
you're at the top of your game running wise, and now so this, and I assume everything looks different, or are you just kind of like, screw it, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing?
2016 Rosa, 2015 happens, this fat dog. 2016's Cruel Jewel. 2017 I get this like weird knee injury that follows me around for most of 2017. And I do Dragons.
You got such a good memory for dates. I
just remember the knee injury following me around forever. Huh. And I'm like trying to like kind of still scrape together like some of the what are the world's toughest things, and I go out and I do the Dragons Back, which I had wanted to do for a while, which is a 5-day stage race that crossed the Wales over in England, and I do that race, and again, I kind of go into it again in that kind of entitled ego place, which is never a good performance space for me, right, as I continue to learn. And I finished that race in like 7th or 8th or something, and I called my fiance at that time, and I'm just like crying on the phone and stuff. She's like, "Oh, why did I go out there? It's pointless." Like, there's just, again, like that 7th place isn't high enough on the thing to get any validation, and I just spent all this time, all this money just to go to this place.
Nobody pays attention to 7th place.
Nobody cares.
It's 7th place. It's impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, so is like
it's not what you're chasing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's obscure. It's a weird race at that. No one's, again, like, people are looking at UTMB, people are looking at Western States. It's a weird one to be kind of expecting that. I'm making my own category at the same time still, but anyways, and then my wife and I get married in September 2017, and then I move out of my parents' house finally and move in with her. And it's around that time that I've now not been running for quite some time. I go simultaneously and I get my heart checked out again, and the doctor's like, "Whoa, you got a little aneurysm here, bud. You gotta get this checked out." And I've got plans at that time to go back to Japan for Ultra Trail Mount Fuji in April, and kind of making some plans for the rest of fall. And the doctor's like, "Oh, you might well hold out on those plans, or whatever. You're kind of like a ticking time bomb. You want to maybe get that aneurysm taken care of." And so the culmination of that knee injury, kind of an underperformance at Dragons Back, moving away from living at my parents', strangely, and what else? Kind of the knowing that I've got this heart surgery coming up. I'm feeling very, I've got this really low sense of self-worth. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know if I'm going to have these sponsors.
You feel like running is completely done at that point for you?
I'm feeling like I've lost it. And keep in mind, this is like my main.
It's your identity at that point.
It's who I am 100%. It's why I'm worthy, why I'm lovable, why for me it's worth living. And so then there's a, again, trigger warning here. There's a suicide attempt there that I do and try to drown myself in the ocean out in San Diego or whatever it is. And and that's enough of a wake up call in the time where then in 2017, 2018, I start getting into therapy and stuff, and start going kind of that direction. So and then January 2018, I have the actual heart surgery.
Okay,
and then I get recurrent pericarditis for like a year ish following that. As so folks with who have had COVID and stuff like that'll be a little bit more perhaps familiar with it. Folks were getting it left and right during the COVID period. But I got it again before it was cool. I'm a hipster on these trends. Living in Flagstaff before it was cool. Got pericarditis before it was cool. Anyways, it's the inflammation of the sac that your heart sits in. So you have your myocardium, your pericardium, your endocardium. I forget if there's a third one, but it's one of the sacs that your heart sits in essentially, and it gets inflamed. And how
does that happen? Are you back to running right away?
The surgeon had said that like, okay, yeah, 3 months you can try it out. The surgery basically, which is open heart surgery. It's a side effect of the surgery sometimes because they have to open the pericardial sac and stuff like that to get your heart to make the repair. So,
and where you at now? How's your heart?
It's good. Yeah. I do still get pericarditis. I did Cascade Crest 100 in July, this past August. And, I had pericarditis for about a week. But then I just take baby aspirin, and that seems to clear it up. So yeah, I've been like back and forth psychologically with like, oh man, maybe I'll go back to Tour de Giants. Maybe I'll try one of these other 200 milers that's popped up, but my heart doesn't like going. It doesn't like the sleep deprivation part. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm still like back and forth on like if I'll ever do a 200 again. I don't know. Yeah.
So what's your relationship with running like now?
That's a good and broad question. No, I'm kidding. No, that's a good one. It's changed a lot, it's I was telling my coach, I was telling my wife kind of last week, that, 22, 23-year-old Nick, like I was saying, got to go up the mountain, got to go up the thing. Even Nick of like, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever. Got to go up the mountain, got to go up the thing. And I feel like, I don't know, like you were saying earlier, I don't know if it's age, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, finding beauty in the flower that grows out of the sidewalk kind of thing. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, I can go on an 8-mile run around the neighborhood. I can go for a 20-mile run. I can go for a walk, man. I didn't walk
for years. I just had back surgery in February this year. And it was the first time that I really, I couldn't run. And so I started walking and it was kind of this, as stupid as it sounds, this amazing eye-opener thing of like, I don't have to run. And like you say, have to be, pushing a tempo or getting to the top of the mountain and, stopping and embracing just being outside.
Yeah. And
do you have that same drive where it's, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I'm
realizing for me, my shift is what I'm realizing through everything I did with races and all those things is we'll get into the mental health side because what I realize is it's time outside and it's time in nature and it's, it does something for me. It puts me in a better place. And I realize I don't always have to be running and kicking my ass. I can just go and come back and not just be completely beat down.
Yeah. No, that's a definite big part of it. It's nice to just be out. There's not that like we were talking earlier, the strangle of like identity and worth on it of like, my wife's helped me a lot in seeing this and just like, okay, yeah, I can go run 9:30 minute miles for whatever. And, I don't need to
be fulfilled
And I'm still kind of working on the skills and detachment part of like, if I have a 6x3 minute tempo workout that I'm not trying to PR on each of those 3-minute intervals, that I'm instead trying to like, okay, I'm not trying to prove anything here with these. I can do them slower and just do them controlled, and that's fine, and I'll benefit from that. But
do you post on Strava or any of that stuff?
I do. Yeah, I don't know who it's for.
Do you feel like that gives you any additional pressure to run a little longer, run a little faster, hit the top of the mountain?
I think it would if you put like a sponsor on me and I publicly stated some sort of goal. Sure. At the moment, there's so many other people out there that I'm just like,
Doesn't bother you?
here's like another 35-year-old white guy doing repeats.
Just doing the thing. Yeah,
Who
I actually
cares?
put mine on private,
So,
private just because it's,
yeah,
I like to track just, whatever I get at the end,
yeah,
mileage,
yeah,
however long it takes. I
yeah,
don't particularly care, but, I just kind of like to have an idea of what I did. But
yep,
I got to where it's, I don't know, social media, that's a whole left turn. We can go into the impacts of that.
yeah,
It was just like another thing and another added pressure to where when I shut that off, I felt like that took away some of that, self-imposed,
yeah.
performance issues. So are you going through, I mean, you said you were doing some therapy. Are you continuing therapy through this? And is this really helping you find this shift in this, calm place? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it gets a lot worse before it gets better. So 2018, start therapy and everything. What do I do? I'm doing like just kind of your classic CBT at first. So it's cognitive behavioral therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which is just kind of in some ways kind of your classic talk therapy.
Talk therapy, yeah.
And it's not anything too revolutionary. I've got a narrative at that time that like, oh, my childhood was fine and everything. Then I go in later 2018 for a full psychological evaluation, and it's in that evaluation that the psychotherapist or psychiatrist then gives me a diagnosis of we're looking at complex PTSD and borderline personality disorder, and I'm some combo of those things. And I sort of dive into those labels and really identify with those between 2018 and 2021. And
how do those present for you?
Yeah. Man, there were 9 symptoms. You would have asked me this like 3 or 4 years ago, and this is how I know I'm not recovered from them, but I'm like changing the patterns with them, because I can't tell you exactly how they've presented anymore. I could have recited this to you verbatim about 3 or 4 years ago, which is actually kind of refreshing to my brain. But it's impulsivity, it's control, it's the gnarlier stuff is like self-harm and suicidal ideation, but it's a whole lot of like manipulation, triangulation type stuff where I'm yeah.
And you don't have to answer if I get too
No,
personal on any of these questions.
all good, man.
Does it seem like this all kind of grew and stemmed from early Nick, when divorce and
For sure,
that
yeah. That's its origin.
Do your parents,
Yeah.
you've mostly been talking about your mom, so I'm not sure where your dad plays
Yeah.
into this. You said they're divorced, but did they see this other side of what's going on with you, or do they understand the darkness and the negative impacts?
Not so much.
They just think you're doing awesome.
God,
you're sponsored. You're doing these crazy races.
It's
living the dream.
It's kind of that. I kind of fall off the radar like after 2018, after heart surgery. My mom was around for that and stuff. My dad didn't fly out or anything for that, which I don't know, whatever, he's in the East Coast. No, the kind of what was is I'm almost disassociating on your question.
No, that's okay. I'm curious if like your mom, we'll use your mom, if she saw the dark side of what's going on with you, or if you're kind of like I did for a number of years, as I wore a face. Is people see the smile, they see you're doing things in their minds, you're accomplishing these things, but you're not really being truthful with kind of how fucked up your head might be.
No, I definitely tried, but it was a household, man, where it was like, oh, you're crying, go to your room. Oh, you're depressed, go to your room. We don't believe in mental illness in this household.
We don't.
So there wasn't really like the darker side of things, the struggling with things, especially like if it had anything to do with her potentially being of origin or originating from some of the stuff back then, or whatever.
Compartmentalize it and shove it down.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly more of my dad's style. My mom's would be a little bit more like fight me on the existence of that in the first place.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How does that feed into you working through it?
So yeah, I mean, like to be like truthful about like, so like in 2013, there's an instance, we're, you know, her and my family, lovably, you know, mix on that word, lovably, I guess, flew out to Tour de Giants to come crew me, to come take care of me at that event and everything. And there's a point in the race about 130 or 140 miles in. I'm coming to this aid station. I'm in 7th place at that time. 6th place is like just taken off from the aid station. 8th place is not so far behind me. And I come in, and my mom's always been kind of at these races, again, kind of understanding the background, maybe even, you know, some vicariously living through me and you know, really hoping that I'll do well. Says to me as I come into this aid station, I wish you'd never been born. You were a mistake. I should have aborted you. And she wants to say that to me so that I'll freaking get some fire in me and go like, screw you, Mom. I'm gonna push or whatever. And I go catch the 6th place guy or whatever. And I'm 130 miles in. I'm sleep deprived at this point. I don't react at all. I just kind of like, oh, okay. And that memory then, like after the race and the years like after, has like been like one of a more core like, oh, that was really shitty. That kind of flares up my worthlessness. and then when I brought that up with her, it's more like, you know, denial. No, I never said that or anything like that. You got that all wrong. I said I loved you. You were just tired. And so that's, you know, a little bit more of maybe my mom's style. Where's my dad's style is, you know, push it down.
So let me ask them, because this is something I've been I'm still trying to navigate through, you know, because like I said, we have a lot of parallels with, you know, we're trying to find this validation from difficult family lives and, you know, and parents that we probably aren't getting what we feel like we need. At what point, and maybe you haven't got to this point, maybe you're getting there. At what point do you let that go and you start realizing that all I need is to accept myself? All I need is to understand for me that I'm enough. And I know that's a very broad question.
Yeah,
I'm asking because I'm still trying to navigate, and I'm curious.
Yeah, how far along?
Yeah,
am I on that journey? It may be some of the human condition arriving to that point.
And there's a reason that I'm asking.
Yeah,
and I'll go there once you have a chance to answer that.
Yeah. So the question of kind of letting. So there's a phrase in DBT I learned early on. So dialectical behavioral therapy, which is the main type of therapy you'll get funneled into if you present with borderline personality disorder or self-harm or suicide. As an addiction, sometimes use DBT too. And it's, you know, I may have not caused it, but it's my responsibility to change it. And that's a mechanism of acceptance. I would say, I hate the onion metaphor, but it's kind of, it's like, oh, it's all like an onion. And you peel it back and back and back. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a human condition type question. I feel like I'm like 78. I've changed a lot of the behaviors that I had when I was younger. I'm going back to Codependence Anonymous right now, for instance, right? I'm on my, like, tomorrow will be my 3rd day, going back to those meetings. And, you know, that's like using my wife or using others to regulate my nervous system.
Sure.
Looking for others for validation and approval instead of getting it from myself. So the clear signs that I'm still struggling with that on the daily. And so to say, like, you know, do I have this felt sense that, oh yeah, I'm enough? Am I ever going to wake up feeling like, oh, I'm enough? Not maybe in the same way that someone with, you know, a secure attachment did growing up in childhood and stuff, whose parents didn't neglect them, who were there for them unconditionally and stuff, would know innately. You know, I could throw a mask on and be like, oh yeah. But
no, it makes total sense what you're saying. It might be just something that you can, it doesn't impact you. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say impact you, but you can accept it a little bit more and that it's always going to be there. But then how do I deal with this?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Which is so the best, maybe the best metaphor I've had for like the whole childhood trauma BPD type stuff is like the impulses, the bad parts of it, and everything like that, the suicidal thoughts, all that stuff. It's gonna they're gonna kind of always be
be
there,
there.
but
Yep.
instead of like you sitting right in front of the TV like it was for me in 2018 through 2022. Now that TV is playing, but it's upstairs in the attic in the back of the room, and
Yeah. No, I
if
totally understand.
if I'm real quiet and I listen, I can still hear the fuzz of it, but I
Right.
don't sit in front of it
But it's
anymore.
not so loud.
So
It's not so loud anymore. No,
yeah.
makes total sense. And the reason that I'm asking that is because you eventually moved into coaching, and
Hmm.
one of the things that you specialize in is the mental side. And so I'd like to understand if you would share a little bit more about what that looks like, and everything that you've been through and what you've learned through these
Yeah.
processes. How does that inform you as a mental performance coach, and how would you it could be, this could be really expansive and broad, so we'll try to keep it somewhat narrow.
Yeah.
But how does that inform your approach to being a coach of mental performance? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that, kind of my story that we've been unfolding back and stuff like that was a big inspiration, impetus for me to get into the mental performance consulting, sports psych kind of realm of things. And yeah, I feel like I'm able to use both my experience. I've been down some of the roads. I haven't been down all the roads of athletes that I've been able to work with, and nor do I think a person needs to go down all the roads. I've had enough experience in the sport and everything, and then combine that with getting a degree in the field and everything, and yeah, I really enjoy working with athletes on how do I say, like I don't have a specific client or anything like that. Like if a person wants to come with me, I'm having a hard time getting through. I'm feeling a lot of depression and amotivation and stuff coming out of this injury. I just don't know where I fit and feel in this anymore or anything. I really admire, I admire this guy, Carl Rogers, who in the I'm going to botch his time. He was 1960s, 1970s, person-centered therapy. And so it was really like letting the client, or letting the athlete in this case, sort of guide the session. What are they comfortable with? Do they want to stay more up here and cognitive and just work skills to get through like their anxiety about, doing a race, or are they comfortable, getting a bit more emotional in this conversation, going more from like the roots up with like, we're not going to get into childhood trauma. That's for them and their
Yeah, I was
therapist.
going to
But
say that's a very a fine line that you're going to walk
it
between the
is, yeah,
therapist. And so
yeah.
how do you draw that line?
Basically anything that doesn't, you can manipulate anything to come back to running per se, but just,
Sure.
um,
It's just how you steer it.
yeah, I'm never going to die as a mental performance, consultant. You're not diagnosing or anything like that. That's again more in the realm of a therapist, but it would be like, how do I say, like a therapist might ask, you might get a situation like, I'm trying to think of something. Yeah, like I'm really worried about this race coming up. And a therapist might ask something like, okay, so that worry, as you're feeling it, there's a fair bit of overlap. Therapists in some ways may trace that worry. I'll trace that worry's origin back again, maybe to some of the childhood stuff. I don't linger there for long. We'll come back out of it.
Is it more
Yeah.
focused on, because you're also doing the running coaching as
Yeah.
well? So is it that you're kind of maintaining somewhat of a focus there instead of like full life scope of
Certainly. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Everything's circling back to running. Everything has to do with
Running performance,
the
whatever you
sport,
want.
the performance. Yeah. I'm,
Gotcha.
again, a big delineator between sports psychology and psychology. Sports psych is interested in the performance element of it. Psychology is kind of looking at the athlete health long term. I am more oriented in the athlete health long term. But and for that, I may eventually go back to school for a counseling license in addition to the education that I have. But I'm trying to answer that other question more clarity, but it's not coming to me at this hour.
And
so,
that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's kind of a tough question to answer because I just, the thing I was thinking about earlier today when I was on my run, and one of the questions I wanted to ask you too with coaching, and you obviously have the experience to back this up, and you've done, you've got the degree, you also have, what you've navigated personally. And I don't mean this to sound like a dick, but I'm going to sound like a dick anyway, it's to the point where on social media, everybody that's run 20 miles and has spent 5 minutes in the woods, I'm a coach and I'm going to, and they want to be, they want to, train everybody and tell them, they all want to navigate into, I'm a mental performance coach. I'm trying to create the distinction of what you're doing and where you're coming from, as opposed to maybe somebody that's just, hey, I went and ran my first trail marathon, it blew my mind, like it does with all of us as we start to expand and go farther. Suddenly everybody's an expert. But I'm trying to kind of create that clear line that you truly have the things to back that up.
So I've been on the patient side of things, most certainly. I've sat in the chair of the athlete, certainly. In terms of schooling, that was a program, master's in sports performance psychology from University of Western States that I got.
What was the biggest? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
I graduated from that in 2023, and then what the heck else? My nearly 20 years of running.
Running. So it's probably hard to pinpoint one thing, but you're going through all this experience that you've had with running. You're going through now your education. Was there a certain aha moment that something clicked or something made more sense in your education that you didn't have before? Or did you get through the education and you learned some things, but you kind of knew, innately some of these things already?
Yeah, it opened my eyes to the fact that I really like working with athletic identity and self-worth. So that kind of revealed if I had my specific type of athlete I'd want to work with, I really like working with people who, I tied up all my self-worth on this. And no one's going to say that explicitly. It's going to come out as I'm really, really disappointed that I got this injury, and I am, and they're coming to me just, saying I'm hitting this injury really, really hard. Oh, why does that injury matter so much? Or why is it hitting you so hard? Well, because if I don't get to run, then and we find out, running is this big pillar of self-worth for this individual. And then we work over time sort of in more what I would call kind of root or depth therapies. And that would be stuff like focusing, internal family systems, style, gestalt therapies that are a little bit more depth oriented.
So it sounds like you're really kind of starting to discover your passion and your niche, which actually we kind of went back and forth on a mutual friend. Top Tamarack.
Exactly.
So without naming names, you're coaching some of our local athletes here in the Treasure Valley as well, which I think is absolutely awesome. And it's amazing how small the sport really is when you start connecting a few dots. We're one step away from somebody we know well, which I think is awesome. And one of the things I love about the sport, but it's also been really interesting how it's changed and blown up kind of since COVID. It's suddenly everybody went outside, and now there's races everywhere and everybody's running them, and it's so awesome to see. But I almost see a lot of people kind of doing what I think we both did as well, that they're going through their own self-discovery of almost going too far. It seems like, you're running too much, running too hard. And it's because they want to get that selfie and, and they want to post that social media post. And it's almost like you kind of want to shake people and be like, if you dropped all that shit, and you just embraced, for me, I just love to run. It's just, embrace the joy of the movement. What would that look like for you? But
it's interesting. In graduating, we were asked, how do you define? And it's interesting. Because for some people, I'd say that may be the, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say in some ways, for some folks, that definition of success or why they run may be the social media, may be the Strava stuff.
True.
And that
and everybody's got a different why.
yeah, that value may not align with anything for me that I personally see meaning with in. But yeah, as I get further along in this, I try hard to, again, that Carl Rogers guy was phenomenal at this, is sort of holding that space for a value that may be totally meaningless and irrelevant to you personally, but kind of holding that differently. But yeah,
Sure. And
yeah,
your coaching business is Lightfoot
yeah,
coaching,
yep,
and you
yep,
do that with your wife Jade, who is, like you mentioned
yeah.
earlier, going through her
Oh,
accomplishments are
she's
mind
crushing it,
blowing as
man.
well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How
absolutely.
is there any kind of a competitive dynamic, when you go out together, or does she do her
Um,
runs and you do her and you do yours?
that's almost its own kind of podcast or Substack or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's shifted a lot over the years. You know, there was as we started getting in the sport. Again, that entitlement ego. I was fast. I was doing this. I'm not going to invite her or whatever. You know, my
She's
biggest
gonna slow
regret
me
now
down.
at like 35 is like, I was so stupid, man. She could have freaking demolished me then. I
Yeah,
should have
crazy.
invited her. And over the years, you know, she's gotten faster and faster. I've gone through like heart surgery, and then I got fast for a little bit, and now it's like, you know, she's taken off a ton. I'm you know, some of the fittest I've ever been, but she's on another level,
I
and
was
it's
looking
so
at one of
fun
your more recent
to
pictures,
watch
and
her.
dude, you look
Yeah.
fit, man. You
Oh,
look
thanks,
real
man.
fit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you doing
Yeah.
cross training too? Or, how do
You
you
know,
approach
my
your training?
body's one of those where it's like, you know, I look at a dumbbell and I put on 5 pounds of upper body. It like wants to be a football player, a wrestler, not a runner. So,
Interesting. How
um,
tall are you?
uh, 5'11" and a half on a good
Oh,
day.
okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm 6'4",
but
205,
okay,
210, depending on, how
okay,
much I
gotcha. Yeah,
eat
yeah,
that
yeah.
day. So
Okay,
it's,
cool,
yeah,
man. Could have
big
been a
old
rugby
football
player.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
cool.
Football player rolling down
Just
a
do
mountain.
ultras. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So your focus now, are you working still on the side, or is your primary focus now,
Yeah,
the
so
coaching
it's so
business?
Lightfoot coaching, and then my mental performance consulting business is called Imperfect or I'm Perfect Mental Performance. So
Love that.
I like little play on words. Yeah.
So what are your goals for that for 2026?
Yeah, keep growing in the mental performance consulting. I've been really enjoying working with athletes. Kind of continue working in the private practice realm of that, and doing group coaching. Maybe expanding into that a little bit, and then hoping to work with a couple of schools and school
Mm,
programs and stuff throughout the Vancouver area, and just doing little sports programs and stuff like that for locals out in this area and stuff. Yeah.
nice. And then do you have a target that on the dartboard that you would like for a race, or
I've been, yeah. You know, the general vibe, going back again to the very beginning of the conversation was like this, like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do a race where I'd be 7th or 10th place.
right?
And I think what's left for me still in the sport of ultra running, like, you know, after nearly 20 years, well, 2008 will be 20 years now. Jeez. Or 2028 will be 20 years now. What's left for me in the sport is going to a very competitive event and placing 10th, placing 20th, placing 25th,
Yeah.
and sitting with those feelings and being okay and just going on with my day the next day. There's still a lot of growth for me, I think, emotionally to do in that
To embrace
sense.
that.
So to embrace that and to not shy away from, okay, I'm going to train my butt off. I'm gonna give it my all training and everything. I'm gonna give it my all tapering. I'm not gonna sandbag or like do I've got this marathon this weekend. Old Nick would have done a hard workout on Thursday and then shown up to the marathon and sandbagged and been like, oh, I'm tired because I had that hard workout on Thursday,
Right.
because I'm too afraid to sit with the reality of, no, this was my full effort. This was me
Right.
trying.
There's got to be an excuse.
Yeah, and then so I'm kind of just trying to lean into the discomfort of it all, and lean into the discomfort of showing up, and
Whatever you get,
not
you get on that
whatever
day.
I get. Yeah, yeah, I'll give it my all, but whatever I get. So yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. This is one of the things that I've realized is my wife has coming into my life changed everything for me, and
Yeah.
it really she's been the light in the dark. After so many years, how has that relationship with your wife impacted your desire and drive to be the best version of yourself possible, not only for you but now for her?
Oh man, like 100%. I don't know if there's such a thing as wife bragging too much, but
Right.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be here. I don't know if I'd be alive,
I
in
I
some
feel the same
sense.
for myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
No
would
way
look totally
would I,
different.
no way would I recognize these patterns. No way would I push myself to grow. It's like the wanting to still be with her that I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, I'll change that. Oh God, all right, I'm still doing that. Yeah, I'll change that. Okay, how do I work on this? And just like, yeah,
It's almost
no,
like you get the
it's a
personal benefit as a side effect of trying to be
yeah.
better for her, and then you're like, wait a minute, this actually is good for me too.
That's actually it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, for
no,
sure.
I totally get that.
Yeah, yeah, it's what's kept me in running 100%. You know, the reason I'm still in the sport and sort of intrinsically interested in sitting this discomfort now of like, oh, I'm 10th place, oh, I'm 11th place. That's so irrelevant because I can go home to like a wife that loves me
The love
unconditionally.
you regard. Yeah, absolutely.
Such a good home environment, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that's been a big change
yeah.
for sure. So, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
she's enabled that. So yeah,
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
yeah, man.
So, yeah, and I'll kind of tie this up on the coaching side of things because I've actually just got a few, quick questions I'd like to ask for
Yep.
feedback too. But with the coaching side of things, AI is blowing up now too. What's your opinion on, give me a coaching program, enter, as opposed to
Yeah.
actually working with a real, and not to take anything away from somebody who's just trying to figure anything out if you don't know anything, but I mean,
Yeah.
how do you, I don't want to use the word sell, but how do you sell the value of a real life person, you know?
So yeah, yeah, because you could do a AI therapist, whatever. You could do AI coach, any of that stuff. If you just want purely kind of the validation in an echo chamber,
Yeah.
and you'll get that. I would say, from a coach, I had a really good answer. Now it's leaving my head. Um, so you get an AI coach, they don't do that. You get real humans with trippy thoughts. No,
My mind's
man,
going 1,000 miles an hour all the time if I
yeah,
kind of lose things.
it usually is. You got me while it's slowing down. I had a good answer to that. It's gone away.
I'll give you mine.
The
My
difference,
my
yeah,
my approach, because I worked with people for a while too, and I actually got away from it. But my thing is it's the basic thing. It's the human connection. It's being able to look somebody in
yeah,
the eye and
yeah,
have a conversation. Because one of the things I realized, I work generally from home because I'm actually one of those tech guys that gets up at 4 because I
yeah.
love it though. And
Good.
but yeah, but I realized, and part of the reason I started this podcast is it's so easy for us to get disconnected and forget how to actually have a conversation, the art of the conversation,
Yeah,
and what it's
yeah,
like to interact with somebody that you've never met before, or,
yeah,
who also can look at you and truly have your best interests, at heart, and that can in real time see all the nuance that a program won't, to say,
yeah,
okay, you're saying this, but I'm getting this. And based on these inputs, I'm going to ask a better question. I'm going to ask a better question to get a better understanding
yeah,
of where you're at and what you
yeah.
might need.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. The one part of half of what I was going to say that swam back to my mind was what a therapist said to me recently of the power of witness, the power
Mm,
of witnessing. And this is slightly different from validating. A AI system can validate you. Look at
right,
the Strava AI. It's, oh, good job on your 20 miles research,
right.
recycles or whatever you title it, basically.
Yeah.
Witnessing though is more akin to what you said there. You're acknowledging, you're seeing what they did. And that was the other half. Was business coach forever ago told me, what are you in the business of, Nick? Oh, I sell coaching plans. Yeah, AI does that as well. I sell confidence, and a big part of confidence comes
Mm,
from this concept of relatedness. What I do matters, and what I do, I feel like what I do matters to others. And so having a coach versus an AI bot or something like that, you can't get that. You can't get that confidence, that relatedness. What I do matters, and other people feel that what I do matters. A bot
you,
can't sell you that because it's not a
it just
person
can't.
that can care about what you do.
Yeah. And as you're saying
Yeah,
that, the thing that jumped into my mind is community, a tribe,
yeah, yeah,
which to me, that was one of the huge things that really drew me to ultras and just the community is the people, which, for like us
Yeah,
having this
yeah,
conversation is everybody's got a story. I love
yeah.
hearing what people's stories are and what's led them to where they're at today, what they've learned, the mistakes we made, all those things. So, I keep saying I'm going to ask you these other kind of short questions, but we keep going off and it spurs other thought. Who's Nick without running?
Man, it's a good one.
Any
Yeah.
other hobbies or interests?
Yeah. Nick without running, back in 2018 was no one. Nick without running now. Yeah.
My wife asked me that because, like, when I went
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
surgery and stuff, it's like, or if you get hit by a bus and break your
Yeah,
legs,
yeah.
what
No,
does
no,
life
for
look
sure.
like if you can't run?
There was a group back in Sedona that I was a part of called a Mankind Project. That was it was like a men's circle support group that was real nice. That this kind of question came up once in a while, and yeah, I'm like slightly. My mind's like philosophically sitting on this question all the time, because then I'm like, who am I without labels? Like an even deeper kind of esoteric-y way. But I love gardening. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love birds. I love mushrooms. I love rocks and all those kinds of things. If I didn't have running,
That geology side might kind of rise to a little bit
maybe
higher.
I might try my hand at acting, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah, I liked acting and stuff when I was younger. I really liked doing improv comedy. That's a part that I haven't done in quite a while. Yeah, one of those things.
Do you write? Would you write a book? You ever thought about it?
That's my wife's realm. I enjoy it. She's
That's
amazing
not your
at novel writing and everything, though. Yeah,
Nice.
not for me, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you've been super generous with your time. I know we're like an hour and a half into this, so thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a few
thank
questions
you.
that are just kind of personal interest out of my own. So I'm gonna have to look over
Yep.
here, but well, actually, I don't have to look at this. So minimalist, maximalist. It's a hot debate. I ran in, we talked in, innovates, the Terra Ultra, I ran minimalist, zero drop for a long time, or format. Like, what's your take on shoes and the gear where it's at? Do you like a minimalist shoe, maximalist? Do you like a low drop, zero drop, high drop?
I've definitely been on that roller coaster myself. Began running in like Asics gel Kyanos back in 2008, 2009. And then got all into the minimalist movement and stuff, had the Vibrant 5 Fingers, ran Barkley back in 2013 when I finished it, and like the New Balance Minimus. Of all random
burned
things
through
that I could
pairs of
afford.
those things.
Yeah, no, I like threw them in the trash after. They were just. And then I've gone through some Hokas. Jade's on the Ultra team, and so I mainly wear a lot of Ultras and stuff like that these days. But I'm into the super shoes and stuff like that, and really enjoy wearing those. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I finally, after being resistant to it for so long, I finally, I ran the Hokas for a number of years too, and I did Ultras.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I'm in love with Mount to Coast right now.
Oh,
Absolutely
cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. Yeah.
Oh my God, they're so comfortable.
Yeah.
It's super durable.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm always curious about what somebody's wearing, and if you're a low drop, high drop. But yeah, if you're running ultra, it's either obviously 0 or I think what do they have, a 4 or a 6 mil?
Yeah.
That's socks. Are you a toe sock guy?
Toe sock guy. Yeah, I started in Gingies back in like 2008, and then just never looked back. So
nice. Well, is there anything that it's kind of been wide ranging and all over, and I appreciate that you sent some jump off stuff too that hopefully we've touched on those. Is there anything
we got everything. Follow Jade's Substack. It's called The Thread. It's awesome. Recaps.
I'll get that link, and I'll share all these links to Lightfoot Coaching,
fantastic.
to your your face. Is Facebook? Where do people find you?
Instagram probably, which shares to Facebook these days automatically. Sure. So that's a great one. And either lightfootcoaching.ca or imperfectmentalperformance.com. Either of those. I'll get those links to you. So
nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, my final question that I love to wrap these things up. Wrap these up with. What does legacy mean to you, and what's the legacy that you want to be remembered for?
Oh man, these got some juicy final questions. Legacy to me, what immediately pops up is like,
you're not forgotten until the last person who speaks your name, kind of. I forget like what that comes from some culture that's not American originally, but that idea of like your existence is still living on if someone says your name once in a while or something like that. But like I don't know. I like the idea esoterically. I love the idea of in the Tao Te Ching or whatever. There's much more simpler ways of saying it. Of like, do your work and walk away. And
I love that.
And like there's like a little verse in it or something like that. Like the true master teaches the people or whatever, so that one day the people will rejoice. Look at the work that we have done. And they take credit for it. And the master's just this thing in the background that takes credit for nothing. I love that concept. Could my ego ever get there? Probably not, but I like the idea of it. So that's what I think of legacy.
I love that. No, that's a really thoughtful response, which leads to, I got to ask one more question. I'm a huge bookworm. Do you read? If you read, what's the one book that you would like to recommend?
My wife's downstairs rolling her eyes at this. Dungeon Crawler Carl. By far, what? I love this. I love the series. Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
It is a good series. I was into like Three Body Problem. I really enjoyed that series. These are sci-fi fantasy books, and then I got into Brandon Sanderson stuff. But then Dungeon Crawler Carl is just like it's what's called a literary RPG. It's kind of dorky. It's like a video game book essentially. But man, it's freaking good.
Gotcha, dude.
I don't know. It's just super entertaining. It's on audiobook. It takes me on all my runs. I'm happy.
That's awesome. I'm always looking for a good book. Oh, which leads to one more question. And then I promise I'll let you go.
All right. Yeah.
When you run, are you listening to anything? Music, podcasts? You just mentioned, books.
A good chunk of the time. Dungeon Crawler Carl, Swap podcast. A lot of the times with David and Megan. Jade's coached by Megan. I'm coached by David. And so, we enjoy their podcast quite a bit. And then, the Ramit Sethi finance podcast, strangely, quite a bit.
No, I like his because I love the questions that he asks.
Yeah, it's good. He's gotten more into psychology, which has been fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, well, I have a list of questions I could keep going and going, but So anyway, it's awesome to officially meet you. Like I said, I've been familiar with you, connection, through the social media stuff. I've seen some of the things you've done. So this is really cool to kind of tie it together and actually, have a chance to see you face to face. So thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah. So good to talk to you, Jake. Yeah.
All right, man. Take it easy. I hope you have a great night. And thanks again, man.
All right. You too, man. Take care.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.